Shout out to USARK and all USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what USARK is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a USARK member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with USARK organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a USARK member. And if you can't become a USARK member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what USARK is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every USARK member and USARK supporter out there. Cheers.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk, Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world, episode 620. On the Treat Tuesday. Cryptic Chondros, our good guy Sal out of the UK. With me, of course, the mayor, Phil Stiegel, and Marshall Mendez. What's up, boys?
Evening, boys.
Hey. How are y'all?
How are you, buddy?
Good.
I'm doing good.
Like shit, Marshall. What the fuck?
What's
dude?
that?
You can hear all this static stuff going on right now. I think it's your headsets. You know why? Because of that fan. Picking up the fan.
Oh, yeah, hang on.
Hey,
Is that any better?
Leave it to Marshall. Okay, guys? That's all I got.
Is that better?
No.
I love the Marshall. I love Marshall's surprises.
Is it just me?
Well, you know,
Bill, is it me or can you hear a bunch of shit, right? Am I tripping?
I hear a little static. Not terrible, but a little bit.
I don't run static on this show, buddy. We can't do it. Got to get it.
How about that? Oh wait, I got one more. Hang on.
I just hear it.
Tyler, you didn't tell me all this during sound check.
I didn't hear it, of course.
Right.
And now I hear it. Terrible.
All the fans are off.
All right. How you doing, Marshall?
I'm doing good.
Good to have you guys here. How's everything been going?
Not quite as good as Bill today, but good.
I mean, we could get to that. What's going on, Bill? What's going on with the recent clutch, buddy?
Bill had a good day today. Feels almost like I'm getting some redemption, like I had forgotten how to hatch chondros before.
Yeah. So how many eggs total? Again, Bill, in this clutch?
14 eggs, and they all look good. Every single one of them is self-pipped and sticking their heads out. So I like my chances.
Oh yeah. So
you have another one due right after this one, right?
What's that?
Don't you have another clutch right after this one?
Yeah, due to hatch today. Today's day 50 on clutch number 4.
What were you gonna say, Marshall?
So it looks like you got your new egg box styled in. Pretty happy with it so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. That's a nice one there. I love the contrast on those two that you sent. Yeah, that one too. Man, that's
so
badass.
different. I don't think I've ever produced one so reduced and so light. Most of the really reduced ones that I've produced have been really, really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like that cherry candy apple red on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So
Nice. Well, congrats, Bill. That's huge.
Appreciate it. Yeah, super excited about this one. This is so this was freight train bred to Pathogen, and Pathogen is Outbreak's sister, and they produced some amazing babies last year.
Wow.
Freight train and Outbreak, but this is the first year that Pathogen is produced.
So yeah, this is the first Pathogen clutch.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
And how old is she?
She's 5. I bred her sister when she was 4, outbreak, but Pathogen just wasn't quite ready. She was a little kind of delayed, a little bit behind Outbreak just in her development. So I didn't breed her when she was 4. I waited till she was 5, and I think that was the right decision. Obviously, looking at it now. So yeah, I'm just super stoked, and she's recovered real well. She's back on food, and she looks great.
And her lineage was sickness to, I'm assuming sickness, right?
Yeah, she was sickness bred to that blue Cyclops girl.
Oh hell yeah!
So yeah, a lot of good potential there.
I'm happy to see this. That's all I know. I'm happy to see that you got some redemption from the previous egg box disaster.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate all you guys, and thank you to all the people in the chat that have already congratulated me. I really appreciate it. It never gets old. Marshall's been doing this longer than me, but I've been doing it a long time now. And when these things start to come out and they look like that, it's just again, it's like a kid on Christmas.
Yeah,
especially
after getting kicked in the nuts a few weeks ago. Then, like you're saying, you just question everything. Yeah,
I really did, and it was a good time to question things. I think a lot of times we try to overdo and do too much and try to make better out of good, and but sometimes you need to know when it's time to just really make an adjustment and do something different. And this was indeed a redemption clutch for me.
And I think that's what really solidifies you in the Green Tree Python game. Like when you make a redemption after getting kicked in the nuts so hard, because it's just a given, right? But it's kind of like you earn your right to your wins in the Green Tree Python game. It's never really just handed all the time to you, right, Bill?
No, it's never handed to you, and we're all going to get kicked in the nuts. I mean, all 3 of us, and Sal, when he comes on, he'll confirm that it doesn't matter if it's your first year, your first clutch. Yeah. Or your 12th year when I don't even know how many clutches, but there's always going to be kicks in the nuts, and that just provides an opportunity for redemption. So it just feels that much better when things don't always go the way they're supposed to, because they're never always going to go the way they're supposed to. So it feels good.
Let's get updates from Marshall. Marshall, how are your babies doing? Your 2025 babies? Everything looks pretty fucking awesome from what I see you post, but let's hear it from you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, slowly making it through all of them. Just trying to do a couple here and there whenever they're in the right pose or they just shed. I've got a couple now that have their second shed, and maybe 5 meals in at the most. And then the rest of them, haven't gotten any. The last 2 attempts, I haven't gotten any new ones to eat. But they're all super spicy still. Striking. I've lost 2. I think actually I lost 1 right off the bat. You guys remember that when they were hatching, there was one that I'd kind of had just given up on it, that it, thought it was dead and left it in the incubator, and it hatched about 5 days after the rest of them. Wow. And then, believe it or not, man, I closed the box, I saw it, got it out. It lived for a couple weeks, and then it ended up dying. But then that weekend, I went back to, get the egg box cleaned out, and there was another one that had come out 6 or 7 days later that I didn't even notice. And it was a tiny little runt. I'd given it up for dead because, you poke them and I didn't think it moved, but apparently they were both still alive. Anyway, so I lost that one, and then I've lost 2 yellows. Of the 3 yellows that I produced. One of them just died yesterday. The other one, I think we might have talked about it on the show last week, just kind of had almost like a permanent cigar back, which I've never seen before. I've always seen them recover from it, but this one just didn't. So that's the one I've got left, and it was my favorite out of the bunch. It's doing great.
So this one's still alive then?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's my favorite yellow for sure out of the bunch.
Yeah, it's real busy pattern. Got a lot of static going on in the, around a bunch of little tiny flecks everywhere.
Awesome.
So you're breaking Mark's heart with the yellow losses.
Yeah, I know. He really wanted him. He trust me. He's been talking to me. He's been in my ear about him already. If anybody was going to get him, it's going to be him. But I still got one, so we'll see. Albino, Albino's doing great.
How's your one and only albino doing?
It's doing awesome. It's doing great. Yeah, it's giving it its perch back, and you know, eating, getting big. Hasn't changed a lot since I took that photo. Maybe I posted one other photo since then, but yeah, man.
Up here.
Go back to that. No, go back down. It's in the center, right underneath the yellow.
Right here. That's
Scroll to, no. Scroll to like the second or third picture. One more.
Oh,
there we go.
Wow.
It's like a flash. That's a flash photo. It's kind of washed out, but.
Got you. Yeah, don't do flash on that snake ever again, please. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, go to the next one. The next one's without flash, and I think that the flash actually is a more accurate, representation of what it looks like, but it just kind of tends to wash it out.
Already starting to change a little bit. Look at that head.
Look at the head. Yeah. This is freaking neat, dude. Well, congrats to both guys. That's awesome. And like I said, you guys definitely paid your dues, if not more than for a few hundred of us. But anyways.
MJ, what about you? Quick update on your stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I just, we can't really count eggs that aren't even here yet, but I got the females that I shared with you guys, I think last week, that have been off food, and now they're looking a lot more bigger, uncomfortable. I'm probably a week out of seeing some ovulations. The only thing that kind of gets me excited, but also like, holy shit, they're going to be coming one after another. But whatever, dude, bring it on. I'm ready. So I know at least 3 for sure are shooting to ovulate here soon. And then I have, I think, another one for sure that is off food. And looks like she's sort of going through the exact same motions as these 3 girls. And so, yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
One thing we can get into tonight when Sal gets on is, Marshall, you said you've had a few that have not eaten yet. The question always comes, well, when do you assist feed? How long do you wait?
Oh, like on a neonate? On a neonate?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, before we get to tonight's guest, I just want to say shout out to everyone who's here. Please do me a favor, get the likes up. Just to remind you guys, Trap Talk is 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. So wherever you listen to Trap Talk Reptile Network, be sure to like, review, and subscribe. All major audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So thank you so much for all the love and support. I do want to say tonight's episode is brought to you by GS Reptiles. Head over to YouTube, type in GS Reptiles, subscribe to his YouTube channel, and please head over to his Instagram. One of the best doing it in the arboreal game and in the overall reptile industry. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino over at GS Reptiles. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by the Chipper, #1 COCO substrate in the game. Go to COCODO.com. In the promo code section, put TrapFam25, get 25% off the entire order. And currently, it's free shipping right now. So definitely take advantage of that. Go grab that COCO to go. That's my favorite. And I'm actually placing a new order myself. Can't wait. So thank you so much, the COCO Dude. Again, COCODude.com. Promo code TrapFam25. All links in the description below. Also, for the #1 quail delivered to your doorstep. No better place than Blake Exotic Feeders. Head over to Instagram, type in Blake Exotic Feeders, and follow him on Instagram. Shoot him a message. Let him know that Trap sent you. We'll take extra good care of you, man. Top shelf, quality quail coming to your doorstep. Again, Blake Exotic Feeders on Instagram, and you can head over to his website. Find that link in the description below. And then last but not least, shout out to David Brahms over at the Reptile Perch. Get your arboreal snake on the #1 perch in the game. And that's coming from David Brahms and reptileperch.com. If you go, you can select from many different sizes of perches for all different ages of your arboreal snake. And again, thank you so much, David Brahms. Also, looks like he's going to be having another killer year in the Green Tree Python season this year. So thank you so much again, Dave, for all your support. Looking forward to seeing what kind of heat you bring in the 2025 season. And again, guys, that's the reptileperch.com. All right. You guys ready to bring Sal on or what?
I have missed my boy, so let's get him on.
All right. Enough is enough. This is long overdue. Sal's very excited, as we all are excited, to have the homie Sal over from the UK. Guess what? Brought to you by Buc-ee's tonight. Can you believe that shit? Holy shit.
I saw that. Man, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Big sponsor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, listen, guys, do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. This is episode 620. Sal, Cryptic Chondros from the UK. coming at all of you right now. Let's go. Choo!
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap
Yes.
Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Tell 'em.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
and we're live with Sal, Cryptic Chondros out of the UK. Top of the morning, Sal. Well, I don't think you went to bed, but what's going on, Sal?
What's
up,
good,
Sal?
boys?
Good morning.
Good morning, good evening. How are you guys?
What time is it, Sal?
Yeah, 2:30 a.m. at the moment.
Woo!
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
he's dedicated, and Sal does pop up in the chats during other shows, so he's ready for this shit. This dude's he's ready to rock. Sal, I'm so happy
So
you're
did you go to bed? Did you go to bed early, or are you staying up late?
No, I'm at work, so I'm just staying up. We're 24 hours, so we don't close. So I'm just here in my office. So
Nice.
Yeah, man. Welcome to a Tuesday night, Sal. How's everything going, man? I know you've been on the show before, but first time with Bill and Marshall. You've had quite the success. Very proud of your work. Happy to go through everything tonight. But catch us up, man. How you been living, bro?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me, first of all. And then we're sponsored by Bucky's tonight.
Yeah.
But I'm good, bro, man. Thank you for having me. You know, I hope everyone in the chat's good. I've seen people popping up. I'm good, man. Everything's going well this side. I can't complain. Missing you guys. Can't wait to come back over. But you know, just plodding along. Snake's doing the right thing, so I can't complain.
So,
Yeah.
Sal, your next trip will be Trap Fest, right?
Yep. Trap Fest.
Woo, dude, what the hell? This is now I know how you feel, Bill, when you have someone like Sal rolling up to your place, who's
Yeah.
been such a great supporter of everything that we do. I love the world, man. I love the global. I love people all over the world, and you know, obviously, I've met you more than once because of Bill's party and stuff. But happy to have you come to Cali, buddy. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna take good care of you, bro. You and
I
Alex,
can't wait.
you guys are in good hands, bro.
Thank you.
But let's get into some talk of what's currently happening right now with your projects. What's your season like right now? Like, are you in the midst of pairing? Are you done pairing? How many clutches do you have more to come? Let's get to all that.
So I'm at the end of my season. Well, my next season is about to start. So I have spring breeders and full breeders. So my September, end of last year, beginning of this year is over. But my spring season starts next month for me again. I've got a couple females dialed in for spring. So I like to break them up through the year, and then I'll go back in September again. But so far it's done, you know, really well, touch wood. So far 3 clutches, well, from the end of last year and this year. So we've the other clutch has just been established, finished, and then I cut 1 clutch yesterday, and another clutch is due in 5 days. So it's going well. It's going well.
Man,
Can't complain. I'm super happy.
yeah, that's awesome. Remind me how many how big is your collection adult wise? How many females and males do you have?
So at the moment, the adults are running on a 2.14. So 2 males, 14 females.
What? Damn,
Yeah.
your ratio's insane. I thought I had a crazy ratio. That's 14s. I mean, that's not a bad problem to have, but
No,
yeah.
but you get what you wish for, I guess. But sometimes it's a bit of a headache. I can't wait for the mail. I know Bill messaged me today saying my mail was being shipped out hopefully tomorrow.
Ship it up to Michael Cole tomorrow. Yep. And so now you'll have 3.14.
Yeah, so we need that mail ASAP. But yeah, all in all, the adults are about 16, and then some yearlings and the babies about 40 to 45 chondros now. All in
Okay.
all.
This one you already got, or is this the one coming?
No, that one's here. So that was Nasseria to Dirty Girl 2, and then the one arriving is Freight Train to Mountain Drew.
God. This is a female.
Yeah, that's a female. Yeah.
Oh, and you got a male coming, dude. What?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Bill, you already know. Like, I mean, you got that many females, you get a few powerful males, and it's over, right? Like, I mean, that's a good position to be in, right, Bill?
Yeah, that's the beauty of having those females. I mean, that's an ideal situation because, you get those males and, man, before you know it, they're going to be ready to go. It seems like you're waiting on those females forever, but male, that 2 years passes, 2-3 years passes pretty quick.
So Sal, was that by on purpose that you ended up with that ratio, or did you buy babies? Like, how did you start your collection? Did you buy babies and raise them up, and this is just what you ended up with, or what?
Yeah, so all my collection started from neonates, and it's just been luck. I think I bought one female that was about 18 months, 2 years, but otherwise they've all been neonates and grown on. So just luck. You get what you wish for.
I don't think it's luck, Sal. I think it's because like you came in just the right way, no rushing it, and you were just collecting what you liked, and you just figure out the sex ratio as you go along. Like even if it was the other way around, it's still like if you got good stuff, you add as you go. You know what I mean? But guys, I will say though, like strategically, what's the best way around that? Like, because I feel like, we all know, like, I think I heard this from you, Bill. The most craziest looking chondros, majority of the time, are males. They're not females, right? So if you do have a bunch of females, it's kind of hard to get yourself your hands on an insane looking female because those aren't really available if the keeper knows it's a female. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, that's been my experience. The male phenotype typically tends to be more extreme than the females. Again, that's just been my experience. But I'll tell you what, that female that Sal got from me is one of the crazier ones, I think, female-wise at least, that I can look back at and say, that I produced. That one looks pretty crazy.
And that was you probed that for him, Bill? That was something that he knew he was getting a female before you shipped it?
No, actually, when he purchased that, it took so long to get it over to him that he purchased that as an unsexed neo. But right before I sent it over, probed it, and nice. It was female.
Damn.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a hell of a lot better problem to have than 14.2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd have to be like, that's some shitty luck right there. But I also, like I said, it always finds if you have something awesome, you can trade with somebody, which also,
Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think an extreme male, is more valuable to me than an extreme female.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's.
No.
I think that may be why when you think of the crazy extreme animals, a lot of them are male. Maybe it's because they live longer, they are able to produce more, they're able to, like you just see them more often. You get a crazy looking female, and you're lucky if you get four clutches from a female. Yep. So they're just not around as long, and they're not as prolific as the males. So I think that maybe could be why. In my experience, I think I've produced probably just as many. When I think about the crazier snakes that I've made over the years, I don't really remember a strong slant one way or the other, male towards female. But I do agree with you that as a whole, it seems like most of the really extreme ones that people know and remember are males. But I also think it could be because of those other reasons,
Yeah.
And she took me by surprise because when I came over in Texas and we probed her, she was grown on but orange, pretty light orange. Mm-hmm. I remember me and Alex saying, and Alex telling me, he's like, was like, Alex, do you think this thing's going to gain black? And he's like, well, typically Bill snakes gain the black by now. And she's obviously, we can't always guess, because by the time I flew home a week later, Alex sent me an update and he was like, I don't know what is going on with this snake. He was like, this snake's just broke everything we expected because it's coming out with black all over it now. So I was super, super happy.
Yeah, and okay, I want to ask you. So you're to snake in like what you got from Bill at that age, and how many of those raise ups do you have? How many? I mean, because I'm sure you got holdbacks. I know you kept some stuff from the previous year. So how many like raise ups do you currently have, Sal?
16.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't let anything go, to be totally honest with you, except recently.
Bill, do you remember what that snake was feeding on when you shipped it to Sal? Like what size meal at that point?
Gosh, it probably would have been when I shipped it, probably hopper mice. Sal, do you remember?
Yeah, hopper mice when you shipped it.
Probably hoppers.
Yeah.
And how do you feed from there, Sal? I'm curious. Like, what is that snake eating now? Like, I'm curious how you like to bump up in size.
So she was quite problematic when she come over. So I got her, and I couldn't get to eat. I remember asking Bill what she was eating on, and I know she was a bulletproof feeder because I've seen her. She was like, you open that tub, that thing was flying out. So like in Texas, so the travel I don't think done her too well to settle. So when I got her over, like 5 weeks back to back, nothing. So I tried quail, rats, mice. I tried everything I had, and she seemed a bit interested, but nothing. So then what we done was we moved her again. And I actually, because I rang Malcolm, he's my mentor, like close friend, like family.
Right.
And I just said, look, Malk, if anyone's going to get this thing to eat, it's going to be you. So I got a lot riding on this. We need to get this thing to eat. So we shipped it. I went and dropped it off to Malk. He quarantined her for me, and it took him a while, but he's just got her to eat properly back to back about 2-3 weeks ago. So she took a meal about a month ago, but then stopped. But now she's taken four quails. Then from the quails, she moved on to rats, and now and then scented mice, and then now multis. So she's eating super well. So she's had quite a few feeds in the last couple of weeks, and she's on track. And she's, back taking your hand off when you open that enclosure door.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, that's the dicey thing with shipping, huh, Bill? Like, I mean, you've shipped a lot of animals, but you can't predict what shipping's going to do to that snake. Like,
yeah, especially shipping them halfway across the world. I'm sure it takes a toll on them. To be honest, Sal is really the only one that I've had that I can even think of that didn't take a meal first time offered. And that doesn't necessarily equate to being shipped halfway across, the world. I had my saltsman animal that behaved very similarly. Helly, he didn't even ship it. I met him, in Texas, picked it up, set it up, and it acted very similar to the way that Sal described his experience. But then, eventually, it just decided it was going to eat, and it's been just a monster ever since. So I have a feeling Sal's animal is going to act the same way.
Yeah, environment is everything. The environment of where this snake, gets established at versus to where it heads to next is everything. You know what I mean? And it doesn't even have to be across the world, right, Bill? Like, it could be the neighbor's house. Like, it just all depends on the conditions of the room, different smells. Like, I feel like a bunch of things matter. And it's not like it can't get adjusted. I just feel like some of these snakes might take longer than others, or maybe just they need a kick in the ass again to get going. I don't know, but
Delik just mentioned, the same thing. I shipped hers out before Sal's to Germany, and she just mentioned in the chats that it took it a while to get going as well. So
yeah,
I think you just have to be patient with them. Don't do anything crazy. 99% of the time, if they've eaten before, even with the shipping, they're going to eat again. Just don't burn any bridges. I've had people that, unbeknownst to me, they've gotten an animal and it didn't eat, and the next week they assist fed it, and I'm like, oh God.
Now I can't help you.
Yeah, now it's please. Don't do that for God's sakes.
Don't contact me ever again.
What is the door-to-door time? So you say you shipped the snake out to Sal today or yesterday, and Sal, when would you actually pick the snake up?
I'm going to ship it tomorrow. So Michael Cole will have it on Thursday.
Cool.
And then Sal, what have you heard? A couple of weeks? Michael Cole will have it a couple of weeks and then send it?
Yeah. And then once it leaves you guys in a couple of weeks, it'll be with us within 12 hours, 13 hours. It'll be here.
Cool. Well, I'm wishing safe travels on the little one. And I kind of want to go back to because I feel like I said, it doesn't matter where a snake is coming from. A lot of people are going to experience this type of thing with a chondro and almost anything. But let's kind of walk through what you did as far as like when you offered this snake its first meal, Sal. Like, how long did you wait before you tried giving it meals, and then how often were you trying? I'm curious.
So I gave her about a week to settle. I thought let me see if I can see some natural behavior, hunting. See if she's out looking for anything. And initially she wasn't. Then about after a week, she kind of started looking, roaming. So I thought I'd go in. But when I was going in, she would just then head tuck and be quite shy.
Yeah.
So I kind of laid back, and then I think I was offering maybe every about 4 days, but not pushing from a distance. 4 to 6 days. I was trying to put something in there to see if it would pique interest, but I didn't want to push too much. Because I've had one similar that was super shy, and I just found with getting that one to eat, the more I pushed or tapped or tried to get an aggressive strike out, it kind of done the opposite with a shy snake. And I just kind of was waiting for it to come out to me, and what Malcolm done. And he just waited for her to feel comfortable enough to come out and grab it off the tongue. So I just kept going for 4 to 6 days for about a month, and then I thought we need to get this thing to eat because he's got other stuff and he's got live, and we can try different avenues if we needed to.
Yeah. And Bill, I'm assuming you don't feed the snake at least probably a week before shipping, right? Like it's being shipped on an empty stomach, you would say, for the most part, or?
Yeah, for sure. And one of the nice things about, I hold my neos, for a pretty long time. So they've got a lot of reserve when whoever gets them, Sal or anybody even in the States, they've got a lot of reserve. So there's no panic. There's no reason to panic. Those things, that thing could go months without eating. And I wouldn't be concerned. The worst thing you can do is, like Sal said, overpressure it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in there every night trying to feed it. If it doesn't eat, give it a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Try again. Don't panic. But if you're sending something out that's only had 6 or 7 meals and it doesn't eat for a month or 2 months, well, then that would stress me out.
Yeah.
But so you send something out that's got some size to it and just let it toast.
I got a tip for you, Sal, and this is just something I did a lot when I was getting a lot of imports in, and I know firsthand that the imports I were getting were not being settled at the person's house. They were just being like, okay, one place to the other. And so one thing I didn't want to fuck around with is like I didn't want to wait to see if this thing was a good eater. I would just fucking feed it the first night it was getting settled in. So maybe just see the behavior of the snake the very first night you put it away. And if it's looking fucking hungry, fucking feed it right then and there. I wouldn't wait, because I feel like some of these things come in, they're alert. They're like, where am I? You know what I mean? If they see food, they'll recognize the food and kind of go from there. But I feel like if some of them don't eat for a week and get all comfortable, they might get into their own head again and just don't want to fuck with nothing. I don't know. But I definitely would just pay attention to how that snake acts after you put it away and check on it like at night or something. You know what I mean? And if it's giving that sign, I would fucking.
I don't think there's anything wrong at all with trying to feed a new arrival right out of the gate. I think that's perfectly fine.
Just don't press it like Bill said. Like just if it looks hungry and it good. If not, then don't fucking don't beat it.
Yeah, you shouldn't have
to point.
Well, I was just going to say, these things, you don't want to tease, like in Sal's example, you don't want to tease that thing like you would a brand new Neo. The brand new Neo, you could tease that thing, and almost beat it off the perch, but that's not how you want to treat an animal that's already been established.
Yep.
You want to treat it totally different. You want to just give it its space.
Yep. What are you going to say, Marshall?
I was going to say it's funny because, how many times does the opposite happen where you have a snake that doesn't eat and you ship it to somebody and eats right out of the box, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's just, you know, it's these things just keep you on your toes, man. You just never know.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, everything, just like how humans have different travel experiences. I think all these damn, like, we don't know who the same person is handling these boxes.
Yeah.
You could be fucking playing kickball with it. Like, we don't know. Like, you really don't know the severity of like the mental stress of a snake when it's being shipped. You know, some of it, most of it, you would say it's not an issue, but you do have the ones where they revert back into like, now I was born again and I don't want to eat. But you know, I think moving it around was smart, Sal. Like, you know what I mean? I think Bill multiple times offered, especially when I first met him, and I was getting my, you know, feet wet, getting chondros. Remember, Bill? I had one that wasn't eating. You're like, send it to me, I'll get it to fucking eat. And ended up dying. I think I ended up sending it to Sock. He assist fed it for over a year, and then it took a meal finally, prolapsed and died. I saved you a lot of time, Bill. But anyways, so yeah, okay. So I'm curious right now, Sal, you know, everything that you've learned so far, even though like, here's the thing, like your success is it's not, you haven't been doing this long. Like you've been raising and enjoying the process, but I mean, this is what, your third year now going breeding, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's working for you as far as like the body condition of a female? Like what are you feeding them? Can you give us an update as far as like the cycling you do? Like, are you like feeding them, you know, while you're pairing, before pairing, all that stuff? Let's get into it.
Yeah, so I always wait till at least four or more to pair any of the females.
Right.
I don't weigh, you know, I go by eye and the look of the female's body condition. And feeding wise, once they kind of hit an adult stage, I feed every 2 weeks. They get we call them large weaners, and I think you guys call them weaned. I don't know what. Basically, they're about 45 grams. Okay, so I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's what they get every 2 weeks. And then the males might get one of those every 3 weeks plus, depending. I like to see them active. I like to see them hunting, and then I'll consider pairing. With the cycling and the feeding through cycling. So I like to do temperature cycling, and I don't really do any light cycling. I have a 12 on 12 off schedule. You know, sometimes in the winter it may drop by an hour or two. And you know, as for feeding while cycling, so my temperature cycles are a bit weird. I've got a strategy to that, and I kind of link it also to air pressure, atmosphere, when we get dips here. But with the food cycling, I will feed throughout breeding and pairing, but they will go in as soon as they lock. I've been lucky enough to have a male that will lock anything. You know, the one male that is viable pretty much will lock anything straight away. So he locks up straight away. I'll leave him in there for 3-4 days, let her lock her consistently for 3-4 days, take him out, feed both. He may refuse, but sometimes he eats through breeding. And then I'll feed her, give her a couple weeks off, put him back in. Or this time what I done was cycle him into the next female and then give him another 2 weeks off. So he was going to each female roughly 3-4 days and then like a month off and then 3-4 days and then a month off. But they were being fed throughout that time.
So Sal, did your one male sire all three of your recent clutches?
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
Nice.
I kind of wanted to spread him anyway. He's the Glassowamina male, and luckily it's him that's kind of wants to get around. So I kind of wanted to pump him into whatever I could and just hold everything back.
Marshall Jr. right there.
Way to go. Way to go.
I love it. No, I mean, and what's crazy is like knowing how to do that. You know, I feel like for me, I just want to make sure the job is done. So I you know, and I've seen males like keep locking till up to the point where they ovulate. So, but you know, for me also, I have more than one male. So I never really felt like I had to, but I also realized that there are that windows where you get the locks and yeah, they got to eat. Right. And then before putting her back to that same female, put her another female and just doing that cycle. You know what I mean? But this is the first year I actually had males shut off food. I mean, one of them was Bill's designer that I have. He just ate a quail, which was I'm really happy for because he keeps locking. And one of the things I get worried about is like these males, especially if they're not as big, they're going ballistic breeding and they just don't want to eat. I fucking kind of like don't want them get worn out, because I've seen males get worn out, you know what I mean? And so I have to pull them, and then they basically need a break. And so but yeah, I feel like that's important, at least breaking them, regardless if he's off food, at least try to offer the food, you know.
That was my biggest fear with this male, because the first time he ever bred, he was 2 years old. He had his first clutch at 2, and he was still quite small, and he paired, and he went off food, and that was like my biggest fear going in, because I could see him cruising, but I didn't want to take the risk because of his size. But he looked quite good in body condition, so I put him in anyway, and then he switched off food, which kind of made me panic, because I was like, he's not a big male, he's only 2, but he ended up switching back on maybe after 3 months. So
yeah,
there's a big difference in a male like that versus a male like Versace, who you don't have to worry about if it goes off food for 3-4 months. He can still be pairing and not lose a lot of his body mass. But yeah, that's why when I have a 2-year-old male or 2.5, 3-year-old male, he's pretty much just destined to be with one female. But boy, once they get 5-6 years old, like Freight Train is, man, I'll put him with, this year he was with 3 females. So
yeah, that's why I done with him this year. So my first clutch ever was side by him, and now he's like over 4, going on 5. So that's why I thought I could, he's bigger now, he's got more weight on him. I can definitely kind of stretch him between 2-3 females over the space of quite a few months. So, and he got through, it was absolutely fine.
yeah.
So is that Glasser line? Is it pretty prevalent over there in England? Or because that's one thing, I don't really know anybody in the United States that has them. That has anything from that line.
So it's definitely prevalent in Europe. There's a couple guys that have got their own, like, especially like Marion Skellets. His stuff is, a lot of people have been posting him recently with his clutch with like the very big, bold saddles. He's just put up a recent clutch that a lot of the US guys have been posting as well. So he's kind of working on his own line. There's a couple people with their own projects in Europe. In the UK, there is some, like mine, some Glasser outcrosses. So, there is a couple people working with it, but it's not as prevalent here as it is in Europe, definitely.
And
so what
is there reds and yellows from that line? Because all the crazy ones that I've seen seem to be yellow. But
yeah.
Does the line produces nice reds as well?
So originally, because I've been going back and looking for this, because I wanted to give you guys some information. So I was going back through some forums recently, back to 2008, trying to find the founding animals, how it was produced, and a lot of it comes from yellow neonates. But obviously recently, where people have been crossing out, like mine across the Waminas, Marion's got some stuff that are crossed into some red producing blood. So, and even those ones have been coming out crazy. But it was a solely started off as a yellow line from what I can see. But I've looked back, and I found the founding animals. The founding male was a sarong, and the female was a biak. And then there was an F1 called the crazy Chondro from like Dasseldorf in Germany. But the pictures are there. So looking back, I can see some real like OGs, like Buddies in that forum, Sony's in that forum. It goes back to like 2008. But the pictures that were uploaded have been, they're corrupt, so we can't get them. And I've been trying to like reverse download them, and I just can't get them. But I would even love to see the founding animals, or reach out to Marion to see those. Definitely.
There's a female clutch. This is something that just hatched out, right? Not too long ago, or it's about to hatch out.
That one is that's last year's one from the Glasser Wamina to the.
My bad. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the repeat. That's the one that I just cut yesterday. So right. I repeated that one because that was the train wreck of a clutch that I had that we discussed at Bill's in September, right. where I had two from 16. The rest just kept crawling out and dying. So I wanted to repeat it to see if we could go again. And that's her. She's a Golden Boy Rico Biak Tavinsky. So I'm happy that he went on to her and just keep outcrossing them and hold some of that back.
And she gave you how many eggs this year?
She gave me 14.
Oh,
14. Yeah.
And then that's the one you just cut. That's the clutch you just cut, right?
Yeah, that's the one I just cut. And then the second clutch is the sib to sib pairing, which I know is controversial, but I want to kind of I want to concentrate that Glasser blood, and try to anyway. So I just sipped both of them. She was old enough, she was ready to go, so I thought, you know what, let's do it.
Yeah. What do you expect? Go
So
ahead.
we talked about, recently some of my incubation mishaps. You've had some of your own as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk about it.
Tell us about that.
So I changed everything I'd done on the last clutch, and I don't think I will go back. So initially, that clutch, anything past the last clutch that has just been established, the 2 clutches prior to that were the way that Greg Maxwell has in his books. I used to ramp up in the first few days or a week, incubate and ramp down in the last week. And the way my setup was previous to where I moved was I had kind of made a snake house from the garage and insulated it. But I used to have a lot of fluctuations. It's really cold here.
Yeah.
I insulated that like a house, but it was still fluctuating quite a lot. I don't know if that had anything to do with the incubation, but those either, a couple of them weren't formed well, a couple of them came out and died, or not couple, 14 out of 16 ended up not being alive. They would just come out, not perch, die. So the last clutch is where I just changed. I remember speaking to Bill, speaking to Malk, speaking to a few people, but mainly Malcolm, Bill's way, and I just went straight bake. I went to straight bait 87.5, and then I ramped down in the last 3-4 days by 1 degree, and they went 16 for 16 last clutch, which was I was over the moon with. Coming from a clutch that you pretty much lost everything, to a clutch that went 100%, I was over the moon.
Right now.
Did you change your incubation box or just your temperatures?
So just temperatures, and I changed No, I haven't changed the incubation box, but I do want to change that. I know there's, I don't know, this is not to sim containers. I've used them. They went well for me last clutch, but this clutch, I've done really well with those. But what I find is with those is I think there's too much airflow, and even with it closed down and I clamp the sides with clips, there's some way there is too much airflow, because the Govee will tell you it's 99%, but them eggs are quite dry towards the end. They feel a little bit leathery. They feel quite tough. That
was my experience exactly on my disaster clutch. Govee reading 99% humidity in the box, but yet they look dry.
Yep.
You can just tell when you've seen enough of these things towards the end that last week. I think I said on one of the podcasts, listen, I'm getting really worried about this clutch. They're just looking too dry that last week. The eggs were hard. They weren't pliable when you touch them. They were just stiff. And again, that's with 99% humidity in the egg box.
That was my experience for the last, couple of years. And then doing the vermiculite this year, man, towards the end, the eggs were just like toilet paper almost. They were so thin
That's what you want.
Yeah, I think I'm going to definitely change the egg boxes this time for the next clutches going forward, and just get something that has a gasket that seals. And then I think I'll have more control that way. It's just, and I cut and I always cut. I don't let anything pip. That's something that's been installed into me from Malcolm. Malcolm's been producing for years, like 20, 30 clutches, etc. The guy's been doing it, and he cuts earlier than I do. He cuts 49 no matter what. And he's had great success. But I'm still I wait a couple extra days, I'm just finding my own way, tweaking things, doing my own stuff as well. But yeah, they just seem really, really tough compared to how I've seen them for other people.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because everything that you say that works for you, like I had success on the exact opposite of whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like I finally didn't cut nothing until I saw a pip, and I finally saw my first pip, and then they all ended up coming out and doing well. But I was also wondering about, because I've had people like Socrates tell me, like, you cut that egg too early, it's doomsday. But I also know that if that snake's ready to come out, depending on how big the slice is, right? I know there's a technique to it, right? But I gotta say,
yeah,
good.
No, I was gonna say I think there's a cut and a cut. You know, like ball python. Like I used to keep ball pythons and breed, and you can cut those things across the whole egg and nothing will happen. But like when I cut, it's like the tiniest of a V slit, just to give them a possible exit hole, which kind of closes up. And even then, they don't. I think there's like a misconception in our community where like you cut those and then things are gonna fly out with their egg sacs attached. Like I cut them and they still sit in the eggs for 4 or 5 days sometimes, and they'll come out in their own time. But again, it's worked for me, but it may not work for others, you know.
It could spook them. Like it just exactly. It all depends how you handle it. There is. I've heard incidents of them getting spooked and running out of the egg way too soon. But then again, if you're careful, you're careful. I don't know, man. And if it works for you, Sal, who gives a shit what anybody has to say?
So far. Yeah, I might change it next year. We don't know. You know, it might go completely opposite this year, and it might put me off from cutting completely.
So
what I noticed on this clutch that's literally hatching now is that on day 50, one of them very small self-pipped, and then Alex and I pipped the rest. And over the next 2 days, what was interesting to me is the ones that, even though I pipped, they didn't use that pip. They'd self-pip anyway. They said, fuck that slit. You know, I'm going to make my own. I'm going to make my own pip.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think they would have self-pipped anyway if I would have just given them another day. But, you know, it's very, very interesting to see. And, man, I agree with all you guys. I think there's such a fine line, like when you pip, how big you pip, you know, you just kick yourself. You know, if you have a bad outcome and you pip, then you say, I'm never pipping again.
Yes.
And if you have a bad outcome, you know, the opposite. It's crazy, and you just beat yourself up over it.
I've always kicked myself in the ass anytime I cut before the pip, because I've had a terrible experience. Like I forgot what year it was, but I cut open like I think 13 of them, and they were all moving. I was all excited. The next morning, 9 of them were dead, and I was so fucking pissed. And I don't know why they did. And you know, I had no idea why. And then I remember talking to someone who was like, "What? Because you cut them too early." And I was like, "Fuck, really?" Like, here I am cutting ball pythons any day I want. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And so I cut like a couple days before day 52, and this happens. But again, I think back then also I was cutting like ball pythons. I wasn't, you know, sure there was something doing wrong for sure. I know
well,
it.
I remember MJ. We talked about it. I mean, you made a big cut. I mean, you Brian Barcheck those things with a razor blade almost. You know.
Dude, that was a huge influence back then. So yeah, you're right. Okay, so Sal, I'm curious. Any different approaches for the babies you're going to be establishing this year, or what can you share with us that's been working for you as far as like first meals and whatnot? Let's talk about that.
I think definitely this clutch last the 16. 2 passed away in the first 2 weeks pre-shed. So the full team that I actually got to establish, and they all did, is that they taught me, because that was the biggest clutch I had so far.
Mm-hmm.
They really taught me different ways, and you know, you need to approach every animal differently sometimes. You can't just go across the board with, you know, some I sent it with quail, some I sent it with chicks, some took unscented, some took multi-fuzz pinkies. You know, it was like a different technique to switch on all of them. And the ones that didn't switch, I had quite a few, because I remember being on the phone to Alex the first night, and when I tried to feed, and he was like, how many took? And I was like, 2. And he was like, out of 14, only 2. And I was like, yeah, man. And he was like, really, you know, it'd be good if you know, ideally it should be more than that. And you know, my thing to that straight away is, if they don't eat in the first post, I would say about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, they're getting the gizzard, mate. The gizzard has changed my life. The gizzard.
Assist, what you mean, right? You're gonna assist me.
Yeah, and I do offer gizzard on tongs. I've had ones take gizzard off the rip without even being assist fed on the previous clutches. I remember telling Bill, but they just get the gizzard, mate. There is no. It's changed my life. It's now changed Malcolm's life. I was doing gizzards at his place the other day because he just hatched out like 40 neos, and it's changed our lives really. Like Bill's way, they get the gizzard, and it just goes from there. You know, once they had the gizzard, I'll try and scent things in gizzard, and then take and hopefully take. But and the multis also, I think made a difference this time.
It doesn't with the gizzard assist feeding them. It doesn't feel like you're getting behind the 8 ball. Like if you assist feed a pink head or they take a pink head off tongs, you're like, well, that's great, but I'm behind the 8 ball. You give them a nice strip of gizzard, and man, you're good for a week. And you don't have to worry about them regressing, losing size, losing tone.
Yeah, they were keeping up. They were keeping up with my ones that were eating, and they were shedding the same time. And I got quite large,
growing the same growth rate. Yeah,
yeah. And
how long did you give them the gizzards, Sal?
I would say, on average, the ones that needed to be assist fed gizzard took about 5, and then they switched on, and then they moved on. And sometimes I would even alternate that. Give them a nice big chunk of gizzard, few mice after a few mice, just to give them a bit of a protein boost till they get onto the fuzzies where they've got a little bit more substance to them. But even, I pushed quite big. Like Malcolm tried gizzard for the last couple of weeks, and when I got there, he was cutting his strips quite small, and I was like, look, these are your neos, bro. And he was like, do what you want. And I was like, I'll push mine big. And sometimes I even go 2 back to back, mate. Once, like, I do the rounds, and then by the time I get back round to the other one, they're gonna take another gizzard. Like, I want those things to grow and keep up.
Yeah. Damn. Love it.
Go big and go home.
I agree. It's been a game changer for me with just this year. And I same thing, man. I go big. I go at least the size of a pink.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it goes down so easy, compared to trying to get a pink in there and they're fighting you, and the pink fucking blood explodes on you. Yeah. It's terrible. These things, man, they just slide them right in.
Yeah, and I knew the back-to-back would be a good thing. I know it could handle 2 for sure, like especially if it's already on a good roll,
Yeah, these things look like they're ovulating when I feed them. Like, and bro, within like 3 days, they metabolize it so quick. Within 2-3 days, you can't even see the lump.
So are you offering every 3 days? Is that what you're doing?
I go about 4 when they're being if they're eating independently. I push them every 4 days, and they gain size quite quick. And once they get to maybe large fuzzies, then I might roll back to every 5 to 7. Slow them down a little bit. But till they get to that size, I'm just pushing them. If they look hungry in 3 days, they'll get one in 3 days. They just keep going.
Any prolapses, Sal, in your recent clutches?
No, never had a prolapse. That's what me and Malcolm talk about all the time. Like, touch wood, so far I haven't had a prolapse. It's probably going to happen. But Malcolm was also we was discussing this not too long ago. Like, he's never had a prolapse, but like and we were just trying to figure out, what do you think causes it? Do you think something's different over here compared to over there? But I don't think so. We're all doing roughly the same technique. It's just probably luck so far.
It's the rodents.
It could be those European rodents. I mean,
maybe
there's big talk now in the States about the difference, in human diet versus European diet. All the shit that we allow in our food sources. So who knows? Maybe it is a rodent sourcing issue.
Their secret is they douse it in olive oil. That's exactly what they do.
I don't know what it is, but we do the same stuff. It hasn't happened. No prolapses yet, even with pushing back to back and feeding quite often. So touch wood. But I'll probably go home tonight and something will be prolapsed on the floor. So
you need to be careful about saying touch wood. You say touch wood over here, and that anecdote different.
Not like that. Also, not like that.
Say knock on wood instead.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
That kind of talk gets Alex Warren excited. Be careful, dude.
Oh god. But yeah, been lucky so far. I'm gonna do the same with this clutch. If something needs to be assist fed, it'll be straight to the gizzard.
And what time frame, Sal? I brought up this question before we brought you on because I was curious about Marshall. How long he would let even a good-looking neo go that's robust. How long? When? When do you say, okay, it's time to gizzard assist feed?
I would go at personally so far. I might change, but 4 weeks. I think once I hit about 4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer if it's still looking well. Try and get it to eat. But if it's looking a bit ropey, I probably will go in a little bit earlier. But about 4 or 5 weeks at the max.
Yeah, I'd say that would be my practice as well.
Yeah.
Now, even if you have one that's clear as day, going to be a pain in the ass, you still want to wait that 4 weeks? Like I'm talking like sprinting off the perch or tucking its head for fucking forgiveness. Like what do you know? Regardless, you like to wait that 4 weeks, Sal?
The only ones that are kind of exception to that rule is I've always been installed by Malcolm. If it's a runner, don't waste your time. Just put something down its throat.
Yeah.
And that is what I just do. If it's not interested or it's biting and dropping, I'll just keep going back every few days. But if it just is trying to get out the tub, it'll be assist fed probably after a couple weeks at most.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious. So you got the babies that you just cut the eggs on. Are they all fully out of the eggs now? Are all of them perched, or what's going on?
No, so I cut them on Sunday. I've got about 4 heads poking out at the moment. I did check on them today. There was one that seemed a little bit ropey when I first, because whenever I cut, I always go in with a gentle touch with the end of a very small probe, like so gentle that I only want to see like the skin have a little spasm. I don't want the neo to move, like just to see. And they were all moving except one. And I think apart from that, I won't go back in and do that again. After it'll be the first cut that I may do that. I don't want to kind of unsettle them and make them twist in the egg once I've cut them. Except one, they all looked good. So there's about 4 or 5 heads poking out at the moment. I hope maybe that those will be out by the morning. If not, I tend to find the ones that I cut last time, they normally poke their head out for about a day, and then they come out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like I get worried, like because I had one out of the 15 last year on a clutch where it wasn't coming out of the egg. Then I realized it was tangled. So I went in there and got it untangled. But are you looking for any of that stuff?
Yeah, so I like to see the way they're kind of positioned when I first cut them. I try not to look, I don't shine no lights, but with these, I think they were quite close to kind of self-pipping because the majority of them, the heads were kind of angled at the top where I'd done the cut.
Yeah.
And for me, that kind of indicates they're probably quite close to coming out or self-pipping if I weren't going to pip them anyway. There was a couple that were still quite below a coil. And I kind of have a look to see if they look tangled. If they do, I will intervene. If they don't come out in the first 24 hours, the ones that I'm concerned about, but a lot of these were kind of head up, ready to they're already peeking through the hole that I've cut, they're ready to come out.
Yeah. It's a good sign. I gotta tell you, the way that when you see that angled head like that, I gotta tell you, it's a good sign. Sure.
Hey, Sal, on the clutch that you had lost so many, did you have many that seemed to like crawl halfway out and die?
Yeah. So I would say out of the 14 that died, or the 14 that didn't make it, I would say I think it was about 9 or 10 that crawled out and died. So
all the way out, or just like halfway out?
I would say 50-50. A few of them made it completely out, but didn't perch. They were kind of sitting on the light diffuser egg crate, and I found them dead within maybe 5 to 10 hours later. And a few of them were kind of like, when they come out and the neck is like limp.
Yeah.
And that's how I found some of those as well, like halfway out, not even out the egg and gone. And they're the ones that I realized, not all of them, but when I kind of cut them back later, they were tangled in the egg.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't save them. I will usually kind of like Marshall, I'll give those things many days to kind of come out on their own. But then if they're not coming out after that day 3 or day 4, then I feel like need to be.
There's probably an issue at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man, it's crazy because there's so many things to look forward to, but then there's also the amount of the next step, the amount of stress for that next step that you want to accomplish, right? Because obviously you see how they're pipping out of the egg, and then you like kind of breathe based off of there, and then you want to see if they're coming out of the egg, if they're perching. I mean, I've definitely had what Bill just talked about, like halfway crawled out, just fucking dead, fully developed, and you're just like, what the fuck was that all about, Or even like dying. Like, here's another thing, like dying after a week, or like being normal, even eating. Like I had number 10 that died after 4 meals. Didn't give me any signs of like anything. Like was eating, like was literally even considering it, like keeping it. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, just dead. You know what I mean? So really hard.
Let me just say, you can never take a breath because you never know.
No.
They come out. Okay, yeah, great. Well, they tip. Okay, half of them have their tied umbilicus. They come out. 2 of them prolapse or don't eat. You raise them up, and female gets egg. Like this, it's never ending, man. You just it comes with the territory.
I think
but you have to say there's certain like stages to this. Like,
Oh yeah.
if I can get a baby to crawl out and perch, just in my experience and in my hands, if it crawls out and perches, 90% of the time you're good to go there. That's when I start really like counting my blessings, when it crawls out and it perches. And yeah, things can happen after that. But if I can get one to crawl out and perch normally, I'm really starting to count my chickens.
You guys remember what Greg said, right? I don't think it was on a Tuesday night, but I asked him, like, Greg, like when did you, when you were keeping chondros, like when did you feel like, okay, like I'm very satisfied on the establishment of this chondro, it's gonna be good. I was like, how old? He's like, about 10 years.
That's accurate.
Yeah, that's wisdom right there. That's wisdom and experience.
But also it's kind of like, man, enjoy it while you can, because it does get to the point where it's not meant to be relaxing and just fucking, okay, let me set it and forget it. I mean, you do get into some modes, right? Like Bill, you've had some good, like, waves of moments, but also shit can get tricky at any minute, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's why most of us stay in the game. It's because if these things were just so cookie cutter, I don't know, I just wouldn't be the same excitement as it is as when things do go right. So
it's also what keeps a lot of people out of the game. Which just goes to show you that all chondro people are an odd bunch.
We're masochists.
You got to be built a certain way to like do this long term. You know what I mean? And I got to say, I don't think if it wasn't for people knowing people like you, and if I was on my own, I don't think I could keep breeding. I think I would just stop. If I didn't know, like, but here's the thing. We all go through it. All of us, you know what I mean? So you're no different in a sense. And all you could do is just keep trying and, find mistakes while you see them and fucking move forward. Like, one thing I love about hearing about Bill is this guy somehow had to make some sort of adjustment after the years of success he's already had, made the adjustment, and look, fucking just hit another clutch out of the home run. You know what I mean? So, but you got to know when to make adjustments, right, Bill?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that helps is experience.
Yeah.
And numbers.
Yes.
If my first clutch would have been the only clutch I had all year, I would have just wanted to burn down my fucking building. But I knew, listen, this was a bad kick in the nuts. But I've got 5 more clutches on the way. So let's do something. And, and luckily, because of the numbers, only because of the numbers, I had the ability to, kind of resuscitate and rescue a season. If it would have been my only clutch, man, as devastating as it was for that to happen, it's easier with some experience, knowing it's happened before, it's going to happen again. Right. But with the numbers, when you really get with the numbers, that's when you can kind of take a step back sometimes and go, if this one was a kick in the nuts, it doesn't.
Got more.
They don't all have to be. They're not all going to be this way. Let's make an adjustment, and we're going to move forward.
And that's go ahead, Sal.
No, as I say, I think that's what helped me when we spoke in Scotland, me and Bill. I was like racking my brain. You try and when something big goes wrong like that on a clutch where you nearly lose everything, you kind of want to just. Well, I was anyway. You kind of just want to pinpoint on yourself. I kept telling myself, I've done something wrong to do this. And looking back now, I've changed stuff since, but. Parameters were good, boxes were good, etc. I remember Bill just saying to me, it happens. And it kind of makes you feel a bit normal to know that the guys that have been doing it for years, it still happens to everyone. You can't, you can change things and make things better or work on things, but sometimes you just can't help it.
Yeah. But like Bill said, at the end of the day, numbers change everything because you always have something to look forward to. Like, it's like, okay, like, we chalk this one for what it is. and we wait for our next at bat, you know. But you got to have those at bats ready to go, which takes time. Like you have to get there when you get there. Definitely can't rush it. You know, we see what happens to people who try rushing it. Those are the ones who check out pretty quick. But yeah, you know, I don't know, like, you know, Sal, you know, I know you're very close to all of us here in the United States, but your homie Malcolm, I mean, God bless Malcolm for having somebody who's that close to you, kind of keep your head in the game, you know, and I'm sure you help him out in ways as well. That's a good dynamic from what I see.
Very, very lucky to have him. You know, that was just, I just bumped into him because of the first designer clutch I ever bought something off was he produced. And, you know, it went from there. Like, he's been so open from day one. So like my two females, which are Sarat Lagerfeld Tavinsky, you know, he produced those. And I remember messaging him at the time. I was quite new into designer game, and I was like, you know, you ask the questions, is it eaten? I was, you know, I wouldn't ask that now from an experienced breeder. You kind of expect it to be eaten. But it's, first thing he said to me was, well, why don't you come around and feed it yourself? And I was just like, whoa, okay, I'll come around and feed it myself. And I went round like 3 days later, and he was like, yeah, that's your Neo, feed it. And it ate off the tongs, and he was like, it's ready to go. And like, he was, you know, it took a while to get close, but he's not just a mentor anymore. You know, when I go to his place, it's not snakes completely. The snakes, we might go and look at the snakes, but it's like family barbecues and family time. And, you know, it's amazing to have him for help. But now, you know, the other day he said to me, I went there and he was like, I've got all these Neos to assist feed. So I sat there and he was just like, God, he was like, you do this quicker than I do now. He was like, it's rewarding to sit back and watch you do this. He was like, I remember he said to me, my work is done. He was just like, he was assist feeding some, and I'd done like a third of a rack. And he was like, God, he was like, I just don't even, you know what you're doing. And obviously that doesn't change a thing. We're still close as ever, and we're going to help each other as much as ever. But, you know, I'm very lucky to have him.
Sal, I see your relationship with Malcolm much like my relationship with Alex.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Alex, in many ways, you know, the student has become the master, because I will have Neos here that I can't get to eat, and Alex will come over either at my place and get a Neo to eat that I couldn't, or he'll take him to his place and get a Neo to eat that I couldn't. So it's really very rewarding as a mentor to see the progression and the growth of somebody that you've taken kind of under your wing, so to speak. Yeah. Very rewarding. And it's, like you said, it's a mutual beneficial relationship.
Yeah. And
definitely.
I gotta say, talking to Alex is very close to like talking to Bill, man. If you're asking advice and info, it's regurgitated from Bill, basically, if not for sure. I mean, but it's said the way the Alex way says it, you know what I mean? So, but I love it. And honestly, I've seen so much growth within Alex. Like, I don't know. I feel like Alex was kind of built for this because he likes the responsibility. He definitely wants all the smoke he can get from all your projects, Bill. And he's definitely ready to take all this shit on, man. So shout out to Alex Warren.
Yeah, he's Alex he's big right now, but watch this guy grow in the next few years. Watch what he does. I'm telling you, the stuff that he has and the knowledge that he has right now, and his passion, and MJ, you're right. He's just committed. You know how many times that guy has called me and said, "Hey, Bill, I can't show up to the facility today because of X." You know how many times he said that to me in the last 5 years?
Zero.
Yeah.
Is Trap Fest fucking that up?
yeah, it kind of is, because I'm going to be gone and he's going to be gone. So yeah, I'm going to be putting a lot of pressure.
Come on, Jose! I'm rooting for you, buddy.
Jose's got this.
Oh God, I don't know, man. Also, Bill, like you're very thankful to have the opportunity to have that kind of like somebody under you like that who's that fucking fired up, because it's hard to find people who are willing to, like you said, willing to go through all this shit. You know, it's just not all W's, man. Like you're gonna get kicked in the nads, and you know, I'm sure with Alex being as young as he is, he has a lot of balls kicking left in his life. You know what I mean? But he's built for it, like I said, and same with Sal and myself. Like, man, we're ready to take on this shit, and but it's cool to have somebody like I said, that close to you, Bill, Me and Marshall don't have shit.
Yeah. That's a
but
game changer when you have somebody that you can, you can go on vacation for 2 weeks or a week and not have to worry about it or, whatever. I've got my son that I can trust to do certain things, but if like there's a real problem or, it takes me several weeks of prepping everything and, getting the snakes cleaned out, and then I've got to feed them right before I leave, and then I've got to basically do a bunch of stuff, to get ready to be gone for so long. Whereas you can it's just business as usual, which is awesome.
But you're so used to that by now, huh, Marshall? Like being the one where it's like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I almost feel like I'm almost the same way. Like even if I did have help, I'm gonna be the one to want to establish that clutch first before anyone else. But Alex fucking does it for Bill, right? Bill hasn't Alex established clutches for you, and you're like, oh, good job, buddy. Like isn't that a thing?
Absolutely. Like I potentially have a lot of animals coming down the line, and if that happens, I'm going to give him, I'll give him 10 or 20 neos right out of the egg and say, here, these are yours. Take care of business.
Due by Tuesday.
And don't mess this up, Alex. I'm telling you.
Hey, all 17 are sold, so don't fuck this up.
I have become really, really, I guess dependent is the right word on Alex. I mean, I know he's in the chat, so I don't want him to get too much of a big head, but I've told stories many times about Alex. I went through some health problems a few years ago where I was literally dependent. If Alex wouldn't have been there, I would have been in a world of hurt. So we have a very special relationship.
Yeah.
And so, I have become, dependent on a lot of what he does for me.
I think it's definitely a symbiotic relationship because me and Malcolm are the same, and you kind of, if you feed off of each other and you help each other. Malcolm done the same thing with me with that clutch before, the one previous. I was going through a lot, moving house, things happen in life, and I didn't have the patience to try and establish just 2 neos that were left, and I was trying, and he was like, just bring him over, you've got a lot going on, just having someone there just to help you out, it helps a lot.
So true, because if I had like somebody so close to me at the time trying to establish some of these babies, I probably would keep myself from getting so upset. But man, I was driven up the wall for sure. Like I broke a couple tubs. I was fucking that pissed. I just couldn't understand some of these fuckers. I just couldn't understand, you know what I mean? But also it's all like, we talked about this, like when you get to that level of frustration, just call it a night, man, or just, take a break, crack open a couple Miller Lights or fucking some bottle of fucking,
decoy,
and then revisit, and I gotta tell you, I've done that and it's worked. Holy shit. I've gotten like, okay, let me get a little bit tipsy and I'm all in a good mood and it worked, but then it also comes down to like, you got some of these fucking things I want to eat certain time at night and during the day, but you got to be like, dude, it's when you're at that moment with clutches, and I'm sure Bill's been there and Marshall, but like, dude, you're very restless at night. Like you're always thinking about these babies, you know what I mean? And also, I don't know, like even after a week of them, or I'm sorry, even after maybe a few weeks of them eating, like it's like, when do you ever relax? Like when do you ever kind of say, all right, we're good? I mean, I don't know. Let me ask you that, Bill. Like when do you look at a neo and not stress as much about it?
What's ironic is this is supposed to be our hobby, right? This is supposed to be what we get away from the real world to do, right? And then we're talking about all the stressful parts about doing what we do. It's just kind of ironic, but still we do it.
Yeah, because not a lot of people are good at it. So if you could get good at it, then you're fucking one of the few. And so and also, like, how cool is it to say you're one of the people keeping chondros like produced, like look where the game's at right now. Chondros are the most popular snake. Like I get the ball pythons, right? They're bringing the new people in, but people who are in this, all they talk about is chondros. That's it. I'm telling you right now, snake wise, it's the hottest thing in the market. But it's also still, as many as people are having success, the long game in this is the tricky part, right? Like people get their success and then they get kicked, and then they don't like getting kicked, and then also, and then you can't stop from getting kicked. Okay, there's a win. Okay, now you're back to getting kicked. Like it's just, you take it for however it comes, and enjoy the whole process of keeping chondros. And
You know, that's a very similar message that Eugene brought to us on our episode with Eugene, right? About just getting kicked. And remember that story he told about the guy that was really embarrassed? He came up to Eugene and he said, listen, I had this clutch, and, you know, the female completely slugged out. You know, he's all down on himself. And Eugene's like, is she alive? And the guy's like, yeah, she's alive. And he's like, man, congratulations, you know, awesome, you know.
That's a legit win.
You know, he's like, you did great, man. Way to go, you know. And he like picked this guy up off the floor at some show that he was at, you know, and it's like,
yeah,
man, you have to have that attitude. You have to have it. If you don't have it, don't get in the game.
Just a reminder to anyone out there, my last opportunity of getting a clutch came from a fucking female who died in my hands. You know what I mean? So I'm coming off a fucking pretty bad last go at getting a clutch, and I get it. I want the eggs, but God damn it, I just want this female just to get them out and go back to perching and eating. I mean, and then okay, the eggs would be obviously a huge win. But man, having that female just survive this experience, that's I'm telling you, there's no loss in that. That's something to be proud of, and because you get another chance with that female.
That's another big high, you know, for me. You know, hatching these things out is great, but when you have a female that gets off those eggs, and you know, I typically soak her overnight, put her back, and to come in the next day and to see her perched back under the heat, you know, you're going, wow, man, this is really, really cool. And then when she eats for the first time, man, that's almost as rewarding as to see the babies hatch, you know, because you're like, wow, dodged another bullet.
Yeah, that's a good question, Sal. What's your method or what's your preference when you have a female approaching her prelay shed or in that area of her development? Do you like to soak them? Do you like to give them frequent soaks, or I don't know, how frequent are you doing that, Bill? Remind me again when you're post ovulation shed or before they shed.
I'll try to soak them twice. You know, after they've ovulated, I'll try to soak them twice before they lay.
How soon after they ovulated are you soaking them, Bill?
Pretty soon. I'll usually, after they ovulate, I'll soak them, and then after they shed, have that post ovulation shed, I'll soak them again.
24 hours, right? Or overnight? What do you do?
No, overnight usually. And then, but I know a lot of people that don't soak their chondros. Gary doesn't soak his chondros.
I know. Marshall, you don't, right?
I soak them. Yeah, I will.
Okay, like during that part of digest,
just right after prelay shed.
Oh, got you. Right after prelay.
I think those things are so programmed to be under the heat that I've never seen a chondro that has ovulated drink water.
Good question.
I've seen it. You know,
that's a good point. Yeah,
because they're just on that heat. You know, even if the water bowl is just right there, maybe they're drinking and I've missed it. I just have never seen it. So I think, you know, I don't think it's going to hurt them to soak them. I've never lost a chondro. I've never put a female chondro in a soak and woke up the next day and she drowned.
Yeah. And, you know, and what I didn't do on this female that I lost, because I figured out my humidity issue and I was all happy. I was like, I don't need to spray as much. And I just didn't spray that girl. But guess what? I never saw her drink. And when I got that really old turds out of her, I realized like how dehydrated she actually was. Even though she didn't look dehydrated. But, you know, to have that much old shit backed up in your system, I mean, something's not right. Yeah, something's not right, and it's a hydration thing. It would have to come down to the hydration thing. So soaking is definitely something with these girls that are about there. Definitely gonna do soak right after they swell down from ovulation, and then right after they prelay shed. I'm gonna do 2 soaks for sure. Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. Yeah. Even if you did it like a week after ovulation. I mean, if you get eggs before 2 weeks after they ovulate, they're likely going to be bad anyway. So.
Exactly.
But we all know. Good. Go on, Marshall. I'm sorry.
I was going to say soaking them like 2 weeks after ovulation even would not be a terrible thing.
And think of the odds if they did have something backed up. Soaking them is going to get them to shit for the most part. You know, it triggers something, and we all know like getting them to move if they are backed up. That's kind of the secret, you know. And but it's also just something to take note of. Like now I've always tracked my emerald tree boa shits. And I do the exact same thing with my chondro females that I'm breeding now. I just want to make sure they're not backed up. That's it. Because a lot of them won't show you really signs of being really backed up. But you know, your chondro should be shitting regularly. You know, I don't, you know, I know there's certain chondros out there that hold on to their shit, but I feel like if that's a case, then you need to do something about it. Because holding on, and Marshall's had experience of impact females with like old shit inside of them. Like sometimes they got something going on. You got to get in there and assist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's usually different though than a chondro that's gravid. Usually, a female chondro that's gravid has emptied themselves out. You know, they haven't eaten for weeks, or
right. That's why Belle was tripping out, because this female, she, you know, like this is weeks since she's eaten, and she ovulated, gone through all this, and she still had all that shit in her.
Yeah,
it just wasn't normal. You know what I mean? But it also just like, you know, for instance, she didn't give me a prelay shed. You know, like there's all these things that kind of were like signs of like, okay, there's something not. And I used to always think, okay, if they skip their prelay shed, it's no big deal. Actually, I don't think it's good. If they skip their prelay shed, I think it's a pretty fat chance you're gonna get something fucked up. So just be aware of that. I don't know. Soak, do what you got to do, but I'm definitely doing that method this year with the girls that look pretty promising right now. But Stout, like, so I didn't even get to ask you. So soaking something you would do?
I've never soaked before my females at all. I was actually going to say quite the opposite. What you guys just discussed is what I do is once they hit ovulation, you know, I'm not perfect. I don't change water bowls every day, right? I try and change. I don't. Like, I'm going to be completely honest and say that I don't change water bowls every day. In the ideal world, I should, but I think any female that's gravid, I will make sure she has fresh cold water every night. And what I found was once she's had her prelay, I caught them on camera a few times coming out of the egg boxes, having a drink and going back in the egg box. And you know, I was surprised by that because I like to take perches out as well. So once they start going in the boxes, I'll take at least the bottom perch out. And once we get, because I always think they're going to go between 14 and 21 days on average post ovulation shed. And towards the latter days, I'll take the perches out, but I'll just keep putting. I'll probably change my water normally twice or probably more than that, 3 times a week, every couple of days. But when they're post ovulation shed, every night I'll give them cold water. They don't come out and drink every day, but you know, I've caught them drinking a couple times. You know,
so you've caught females drinking post ovulation.
Yeah, but only because I'm like a camera nerd. There's like a camera on every enclosure. And I'll go back and track through the whole night. Because I like watching things like that.
Are we talking as soon as the lights went out, or like early in the morning? Like what time are we talking here?
So for my time, I tend to find they probably go as soon as my lights go for 8 p.m. They normally drink between 8 and midnight, and after that, I haven't seen them drink after that. You know, they've drunk in the first few hours, and then back in the egg box.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
That's good to hear. I do not have cameras on my animals like that. I have cameras on them when I'm looking for locks, but other than that, the cameras aren't on. So maybe they're drinking, and I just you know, I'm usually not out in the snake room at 2 o'clock in the morning or even midnight. So
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
But again, I'll get back to the point that MJ said. It's not going to hurt to soak them.
No, exactly. Yeah. I think I do want to try that, to be honest. I haven't done it yet, but I've seen a lot of people that do it, and I think it's quite good just to get that female hydrated. You know, hydration is one of the main thing. Well, one of the clinical outputs because of being egg bound. You know, if something's dehydrated, you're more likely to become egg bound.
Yep.
So I think it's something as a precaution to do. So I think I will go ahead and do that going forward.
And in touch wood, I've never had an egg bound chondro female.
Yeah, so you know, also
I had to throw that in there.
Also to stroke wood. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
So are you giving the females a nest box, or how are you?
That's what I was going to ask.
How are you letting them lay? You just give them a nest box and they just go in it. Have you ever had one lay out of the nest box?
I haven't yet. They all get a nest box, and as soon as I put my nest box in 7 days after the post ovulation shed.
Right.
So on day 7, the box will go in. If once they show interest, and they what I've found is the first night or two, all of my females have kind of checked it out, half body in with the head back on the perch, and then after the second or third or fourth night, full body in. Once it gets to that point, I'll start taking. I've got two main perches. The bottom perch will come out at the very least, and then the top perch will come out around about day 14, post ovulation shed, and then go from there basically, and let her keep. And I keep the water bowl in there all the way throughout, except once when one of my females, it got to day 20 and she was just cruising non-stop, and I thought I'm just gonna. I didn't think she was gonna use a nest box, so I just took out everything except the nest box, and she finally went in and laid the following day.
Oh, so you took out the water dish and everything else?
Everything, just bare with the egg box. That's it, and she went in and laid the next day.
Wow. Okay. And
Sal, have you ever locked a female in the egg box?
No, I haven't done that, but I think if I have one, because I like the idea of you guys also locking in egg boxes or even the rack. You know, some people put them in a rack. Yeah, so I like that idea because, you know, it just, you've got them somewhere. They don't really have a too much of an option. You know, they've got warmth. You would just wait at that point. You're just waiting for them to deposit eggs.
Well, the first time that I had a female lay on top of her egg box and drop a couple eggs off of the egg box, that's when I started becoming very easily to lock them in. You know, once you know it's time, you know, when you're a week away, you know, I will lock them in there if they're not voluntarily going in that egg box.
And I'll say this too, I've only done it at a small sample size of 3, but since I've started locking them in the box, they've all 3 done the same thing. Cleared out a little spot and right on top of the heat tape, and perfect beehive, all 3 of them. You know, I don't know.
That's in your ball python rack, right, Marshall, that you're putting them in? And what do you have? Because I know you have heat for all them. So are you having them on the lower level? And I'm curious, what temps are you like reading?
I have like a HerpSat 6 that controls, you know, the big ball python racks, and I'll just give it its own, or I'll just, you know, I'll make 1 or 2 shelves of ball pythons cold for a couple days and just leave the heat tape set to 84. And yeah, or 80, like, you know, between 84 and 85. And man, they just, they find it, clear out the COCO and the sphagnum moss. And I didn't even use sphagnum moss this past year. Just put some, you know, ReptiChip in there, and they clear out a little spot and get right on the plastic of the tub, and they've all 3 laid perfect beehive clutches.
So no hide. You just put them just like that.
Yeah, no hide. I mean, it's an opaque box, you know, so it's already dark in there.
It's essentially a hide box in itself.
Yeah,
right.
The last female that laid for me, and I think I shared with you guys, was the longest a female ever laid post ovulation. She laid on post ovulation day 57.
Whoa, damn! That's
how many days post shed was that?
A long time. I can't remember exactly from the shed, but usually my girls will lay like day 42 to 45 post ovulation. So this girl was locked in her nest box for over 2 weeks because I was expecting, you know, her to lay on day, you know, I always go conservative. So maybe day 40, she wasn't utilizing her nest box. So at day 40, I locked her in the nest box, and it was 17 days later that she laid in that nest box.
Wow.
No water? Like, how are you giving her water? How is that?
No, I at first I didn't give her any water because, you know, typically they can go 4 or 5 days, whatever, without water. I'm worried about them, you know, laying in the water dish, which I haven't seen personally, but I've seen other people.
Oh yeah,
Chondros have laid in the water dish. So I wasn't giving her any water at all initially, but after the first week, you know, then I would start putting a water bowl in there, maybe just a few hours out of the day. So if she was really thirsty, you know, she would, you know, again, fresh water, she would drink. So I don't know if she was utilizing that or not. But I tell you what, you talk about sleepless nights, you know, I'm telling you, I talked to Patrick, I talked to Mark. Patrick has never had a female go more than 50 days post-ovulation. Mark had one female go 57 days and laid a nice big clutch of like 22 eggs. So that gave me a little bit of solace. But I'm telling you what, man, that last week, you know, day day 50 to day 57 shouldn't be shouldn't be stressful. But my God, she really put me through the ringers.
And that's
A lot of people would have intervened by that point, you know.
Wait,
So
what do you do?
Like, I would take her to the vet, give her oxytocin, like, just something. I got to do something,
She didn't look like my girl, right? I mean, you saw my girl, Bill. Remember how egg bound obviously she was, and it all looked like the situation. Your girl didn't look like that, right? Like she wasn't all like she didn't drop the eggs down her cloaca. They weren't all bunched up.
No, she never looked like, I don't really consider a girl to be egg bound. I mean, my experience with egg bound is very minimal. I've had one snake ever be egg bound, and it was a Borneo. So I haven't experienced egg binding in green trees, but in the Borneo that I had that was egg bound, she laid 3 eggs, and then nothing. Nothing. A week later, I knew she had more than 3 eggs in her, right, or whatever. But with the Chondros, she was acting right. She was coiled.
Yeah,
she was defensive. Every time I opened up the egg box, she'd hiss, and
yeah.
So she was acting like,
Those are good signs.
The appropriate way. But my God, that was a long week.
Yeah, but she still acted like she wants to lay. She just waited. She just waited forever.
She just waited forever, and it was a repeat pairing. She'd laid the year before, and she did everything textbook. This time, I don't know what the difference was. She laid 13 perfect eggs. So again, just these things they'll have you beating your head up against the wall.
She bounced back good, Bill?
She's doing great. I'm going to offer her food literally like tomorrow or the next night, but she's perched back and she looks good. She's very thin, but I think she'll be fine.
Sal, before we get off this topic, what do you like to do temperature-wise once a female ovulates? Do you increase anything, or you just leave everything as is?
No, so I will keep her 85 hotspot. I run heat panels all the way throughout because we're just too cold here.
Yeah.
But no, I'll keep her at 85. I might ramp up I've ramped up before. I didn't do it this time around, but what I'll do is I will obviously stop the night drop. But I will keep it 85, maybe 86 at a push, but I won't do much more than that.
And the nighttime gets to what?
70, I would say 75 at that point. I do drop as low as 70, maybe a little bit lower when I'm cycling, but I'll put that back up to back up to mid 70s.
I don't do anything different. They get the same heat. They get the same night drop. And I think Marshall does the same. Marshall was one of my original mentors, when I got into green trees.
That's scary.
Very now looking back at it, it's very scary. But
now that you know me a little bit better.
At the time, Marshall was the only one that I knew that was keeping both ball pythons and green trees in the same area, room, whatever. So I really leaned heavily on how he did things. And he told me, listen, in the wild, they still get a night drop, right? Temps are dropping at night. They're not getting any extra heat. So I've always just maintained that same thing. They get that warm spot during the day, but at night, those temps go down.
Yeah. I'm relying on my ambient. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have to increase. That's when I'm going to turn the panels on, because I don't run panels because how
I think that's a good idea, MJ. I think, and even Ryan Young will tell you he does ambient, but once a female is ovulated, he
kicks it on.
He kicks that supplemental heat on. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. All right, listen, we're going to get to the wrap-up topic of the episode. I'll go first, and then we'll get to Bill and Marshall. We didn't really get to talk about the main title of this episode, which is like the growth in the UK with Chondros. We could talk all day as far as how things are taking off here in the United States, but where do you really feel things are headed with the green tree python breeder game in the UK? Is the growth been getting where it needs to be, or how do you feel about that, Sal?
I think it's definitely growing, right? The interest is peaking. But there's been a personal frustration with it myself, which I'll touch on in a minute. But
sure.
It's definitely growing. You can see the peak of interest. You can see people are, starting to build collections. There's been more people reaching out to me, asking, how to reach out to Bill, asking me what I've got available, you know, people that want to get stuff brought over. And you can see there's a definite peak. I think kind of the UK always follows suit from the US. We're just always a few years at least behind. And I can definitely see, you know, it's people have reached out and they're enjoying the content and the videos that I've been shooting from people's collections, and people are super, super happy and interested with, you know, getting into chondros, and it's definitely something that's growing here a lot. One thing that has come off from then, and, you know, this is controversial, and this isn't at anyone specific, you know, whoever is watching this, but what's been happening is people are, I think, misleading people with the way they're selling animals here. So, you know, it's not the buyer's fault, but it's even happened to me where people have reached out, you know, just a few examples of, like, you know, you can't call a high yellow a lemon tree. You can't call, you know, someone's offered me a blue line sarong, a wild call. I'm like, blue line doesn't exist in the wild. It's a lineage, it's something that's been bred for years, you know, and then being offered things like, you know, someone said there was a really high melanistic animal that just came in. And I remember saying to the shop owner, if it's melanistic when I get there, it's mine. Don't sell it. I'll be there in 30 minutes. And, you know, I got there and it's an animal that's been obviously cooked under UV. You can see like the top of its coils are obviously blackened and the bottom of them aren't. And you can just tell the way its color is that it's been just cooked. And, you know, it takes away from the credibility personally, you know, from people that are, but, you know, there's recently other people that are buying from Bill or importing, you know, like, it takes away the credibility of the animals that we have got. Like, you know, I can track back all of my animals' lineages, you know, like my lemon tree calico Vinskys, like the original male is from Buddy. That's from the lemon tree Hampstead pairing that came over. You know, my Surat Lagerfer stuff that got shipped over from Stewart, Christian Stewart. You know, that's like, I think it's just education. It's a lack of, you know, the more people collect, the more people will start talking and reaching out, and, you know, it will get better. It's just, you know, when you take pride in your collection personally, it kind of, you know, it can bother you a little bit when people are just copying and pasting names, you know, and misleading people. I just don't think it's fair.
Yeah,
that's frustrating. That shit happens here, you would say, right, Bill? I mean, all the, like, there's mislabeled stuff. Not as much. I mean, there's a lot of people who, like, you know, there's not a lot of people doing it, but there are people who come in this and just create labels on something because they think they got something special and they're just kind of running with it, you know?
Yeah, you know, but luckily the chondro community it's still pretty tight knit, and you know, part of me says, you know, people that get involved in stuff like that are misinformed. They're just they're not willing to put in the work, the effort to get immersed in the community and to you know, reach out and ask questions before they buy or bounce things off other people that are more established. What, you know, what do you think about this animal? Is this properly labeled? Is this a good source? You know, there's just really almost no excuse for it now, for people to buy animals that are mislabeled or, you know, come from a non-reputable source. There's almost no excuse for it now.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for the seller either, you know, right? I mean, there's no excuse for it's almost like more on the seller than the buyer. You know, buyers coming in new, they don't really know. You know, they don't know all the stuff. They haven't watched this show for, you know, like the regulars have. They don't know what the pitfalls are. They don't really know. They just want a green tree. You know, they're probably like us. They saw a green tree in a book, and, you know, it's my dream snake. I'm going to get it, and, you know, don't know what questions to ask.
But Marshall, you know, I think people that have any sense or wits about them, you know, will take the time and do a little bit of research.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, you know, you don't have to watch this show every week, you know, to get the knowledge before you buy an animal, to know red flags, know what you're looking for.
Guess what, Bill? People are still not listening. I got to tell you. Okay. People are still getting snakes with Nido. I don't fucking know how, but it's happening. And it's crazy to me. It is crazy to me. But
all we can do is keep informing, keep doing podcasts, keep, you know, putting ourselves out there available to answer questions. That's what we can do.
Test your snakes. Test your snakes. That's it. Don't rely on nobody else's test. Test your own snakes. If something comes in the mail, I don't give a fuck who it is. Test your own snake.
And I don't care, who it comes from.
Doesn't matter. Test
Right.
it. Always
Yep.
test it. Yes. And if you don't, then that's your fault for sure. 110%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a little less forgiving, I guess, than Marshall, especially now in this day and age where green trees have been in the forefront of the reptile community now for a decade, and so I don't have a lot of pity for the people that are bringing in or purchasing misrepresented animals or animals from an unreliable source, because there's just so many good sources out there now. And even if you don't buy an animal from me, if you contact me about an animal or a seller, I'm not going to do it publicly, but I'll tell you what I think privately in a heartbeat.
Goddamn right. And you don't want that kind of energy from the mayor, man. Woof.
Not just from me. Any of you guys would do the same, I'm sure.
100%.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is like you work so hard to keep a good name in this, but the fucking last thing you want to do is ruin that, And that's why there is a lot of responsibility on the seller when it comes to, especially somebody new. Like we have to cater to this person at least until they got their feet, moving. Like Bill, you help. How many of your customers out, Bill, are you there for? Like if they're like, not figuring it out, they're not struggling, you're there for all of them.
Well, I'm there for them, and I'm there for the people that are not customers. All you got to do is reach out and ask,
Or Alex.
And not just me, ask, there's 50 people you can ask that are reputable and, would be willing to help you.
And if you want to talk less, you just want one question and a big answer, call Patrick. Hit Patrick up, give him one good question, and just sit back, take some notes, and you clear your next 3 hours. You'll be
Get
good.
a 6-pack. Yeah.
Yep. So, again, I put much more of the onus on the buyer than the seller. There's always going to be bad sellers out there.
Yes.
So I really put the onus now on the buyer.
Yeah. Very good point. All right. So Bill or Marshall, who wants to go next with their wrap-up topic or question?
Well, my favorite question is always, Sal, so what's next? Like what would you want to bring into your collection next? A particular line or, animals that you have your eye on? Because, this game never stops. Like you're always trying to go to the next level. So what are you looking at? What, a year from now, or 2 or 3 years from now, what do you have your eye on?
So the pair that I got from you is obviously a pair made for each other in my eyes, but we don't know. That's a good few years down the line. You never know what's going to happen. I don't want to count on that, but that is definitely something. But going forward, what I would, there is what I would love to. I would definitely. I'm always going to add something from you, Bill. Probably if not every year, if not every other year. That's just a given.
Keeping Phoenix Reptiles in business. I'm
always going to add something in from you, but it's I've been eyeing a couple clutches. So I have got my eye on some stuff from you. Obviously, I know Marshall's like the holdback king, but maybe we could twist his arm to get one over to the UK at least. That way, it's not in the US. But I have to wait for that. But ideally, I would love something from also out of our circle and people that I haven't spoke to personally. 3 people. One is from Pedro. Something to do with Mosaic, 100%. It's very difficult with Portugal. It's so hard to do the import from there.
Is that right?
Really difficult.
You can get them. Doesn't Francesca in Italy has a bunch of Pedro snakes, right? She's always posting. Are they any easier to get out of Italy?
So the thing is, it's with the shippers, they mainly do. It will come from the Netherlands or Germany is the main hub from where they come through. I need to look closely into how we would get it from Italy or Portugal into that hub and then over to me, and see if they could help with that. I just don't know how difficult that would be. But if I could get something from Pedro, I'd be happy to purchase one tomorrow. And as for the US, I would really love something from John Irby and Christian Stewart. I've seen some of those pairings recently, and I've had my eyes on some animals. And to be honest, another person as well is Stephen Saltzman.
I was gonna say, what about bro. That guy's
Yeah.
on fire right now.
Bro, I've been seeing the animals coming out of Steven's productions, and you know, every single one is like Bill's one, Ruben's one. I think everyone that I've seen that's been linked to Steven, you know, they're coming out crazy. They're looking amazing. So I would like something from Steven as well.
Never in my life would I ever thought I would say this, but I'm very proud to be friends with Steven Saltzman.
I think MJ, you have me to thank for that.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit.
I'll add it to the list, buddy. No worries. I got you.
And I got to shout out Alex. You know, Alex already knows this, but as soon as Gas drops something, yeah, I'm ready.
Well, I'll tell you that you'll get second pick from any of those.
Definitely.
All right, who do you? Okay, Marshall, what you got? Wrap up topic or question for Val?
So, what would be the best European show? Let's just say the All in the Tree Boys wanted to make a trip to Europe to attend a snake show.
Yeah.
What would be the one to go to?
Well, first to put out there, if and when this happens, let me know. I am there. We're doing it. But it's got to be Ham or Houghton. You know, they're the two. You know, so I would say probably Ham in Germany. You know, that since I've been a child, that's been the main hub. That's been, you know, a lot of import export coming from there with things over to here. You know, Houghton is good as well. But I think, you know, the iconic one is German. The German one, you know, Ham that would be the one that we have to visit. You know, I would like to even go over there. I haven't been there myself yet, and I'm so local. You know, I'd like to go over there just to see what I've seen videos, and I see the website they have where breeders will advertise pre-show, which, you know, I can send you guys links and you guys can have a look. But a lot of people will put stuff on there.
Where is Houghton, Sal? I know Ham, but where is Houghton?
In Netherlands, I believe. Yeah. So that would be the two shows that, you know, that go off, that are the busiest. Plus, you know, so I can see Dilek saying go to Houghton. So maybe that one's the better one because she's from Germany. So, you know, if she will know.
Yeah, she said Ham's terrible.
Yeah, the last couple of years, it's obviously gone down. It used to be the hub of the European shows. So, you know, maybe it's took a dip. So, you know, maybe it's changed. But whichever one we go to, we'd have to look into and see what one's doing better at the time. But Ham was always the iconic one. You know, I guess things change as well. You guys have obviously seen shows change in the US. The UK shows might as well not even exist anymore. You know, they just keep being shut down every time a week before.
Really?
I haven't been to a UK show, one of the big ones, in a good couple of years now, because, you know, you purchase tickets, they're booked, and then 4 days later it'll be cancelled. You know, the venue always pulls out because of groups that will complain. And I just haven't been able to get to one.
Bunch of haters, bro.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to throw a trap fest in the UK and then combined with Phoenix Reptiles fucking collaboration, and we throw our own show. They can't shut it down. You know what I mean?
We got to do a UK boys on tour. You guys need to come over here.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're already. I'm gonna spill the beans. I'm already working on an Australian tour, so I mean,
wow,
you got to do the UK one. We will. And I've always wanted to be to the UK, but that means I got to bring my family. Lily's no way in hell she's let me go to the UK without her. She's gonna want to pull up for sure. So
family holiday, bro.
Good old ball and chain. You know what are you gonna do? But no, listen, we're gonna say something, Bill. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. Just the Lost Boys in Australia sounds good, and the Lost Boys in Europe sounds good. Global,
All in the Tree Boys, global. Hey, listen, we touched a lot of wood on this episode tonight, all because of you, Sal. This was an awesome time. We had just shy of 70 people tapped in at one point. So what do you have to say to all the love and support you get, man? I got to tell you, a lot of people rock with you in the Chondro community. And you got 3 other guys right here, big time. So what do you have to say to all the love and support out there, Sal?
Bro, I want to say, first of all, thank you to you guys for having me. It was like, it's lovely having the relationships that I do have with you guys now. Like, see you guys as family, you know. Thank you for everything you guys have helped me with, the support, just meeting you guys and spending time with, and the whole community. You know, it's lovely to come over to Texas, meet new people, but as well as like see my old friends. But it's overwhelming when I get there and people approach me, and it's nice just to like discuss stuff with them. You know, like it's a lot of love in the community over there, and you know, it's unmatched. I just want to say thank you for all the support I get, and you know, also I have to apologize because you know, MJ kind of got it happened to MJ as well, but I've been so bad with DMs.
Oh my
Like,
God, he's terrible, bro. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's all good. I feel like you have me on silent or something. I'm
no,
like,
yeah, no, I have to say it to everyone because like Alex says it to me, the other boys say it to me, people hit me up on WhatsApp. Alex is like, that's the only way I can get you because it's always on silent. So sorry to anyone that has been messaging me. I haven't got back to them. There's been a lot going on recently, but thank you for everyone that supports everything. I really appreciate it, and I love you guys. Thank you.
text me your WhatsApp number after this in the DM. That way I don't have to hit up Alex to get a hold of you. Okay.
I will.
No, listen, bro. Listen, we really appreciate your time, Alex. Or I'm sorry, Sal. Looking forward to having you back. I can't wait to have you over here in the States again, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you. But guys,
It's gonna be fun.
Cryptic Chondros, that's on Instagram. That's the best place for people to follow you, right? Just make
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're gonna start showing some of this heat as it you know establishes, and you're gonna give us some.
Yeah, it'll be all going up, and the only thing to plug really, and I know I've been taking my time, but you guys will probably want to watch it as well. Finally, after Pat has checked it off and watched the video, Patrick's tour is done, edited, uploaded. It goes live this weekend.
Nice.
Wait, is that where you got bit by the emerald?
Yeah, the basin bit me.
Dude, epic. All right, well, I can't wait for that. Appreciate your time, guys. Do me a favor, we'll give him a follow, Cryptic Chondros on IG, and give it up. It's a wrap for Sal, ladies and gentlemen.
Way to go, Sal.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Sal.
All right, have a
See
good
you
day.
soon, buddy.
Take care, guys. Bye bye.
Good guy. What a gent. I love Sal, man. What did you think of tonight's episode, Marshall?
I thought it was great, man. Sal's a super nice guy. Got to meet him last year at Bill's, and I didn't realize he had, kind of done what I always talk about doing it right, which is buying babies, taking your time, and it's good to see people that do it that way.
Yeah,
And he's super nice, super crazy nice guy.
Sweet guy. I one of the sweetest guys ever. You know what I mean? Only because I know that feeling. I definitely had that when I first went to Bill's, like that excitement, and you just feel so lit up. And I remember seeing Sal the first time at Bill's, and he was like a fucking kid in a candy store, and we just related on that feeling. You know what I mean? Everyone has that feeling when you walk into Bill's, and so. But he carries that excitement every time you see him, right, Bill? Like such a fucking loving guy that Sal.
Yeah, he's he's turned into really one of my very, very good friends. And I guess I'll just take this minute to plug the party in September.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know he's going to be here, and this is square. I know it's only April, but this is squaring up to be probably the most iconic party that I'll have ever thrown to date. We're going to have people here from Sal from the UK. We're going to have people from Australia. We're going to have Delic from Germany will be here. We're going to have, I know of at least 3 people from Canada that are coming down for it. So I would just encourage anybody that can get down here on September 5th to put that on their calendar and come out and just, experience the community at its finest.
Can't wait to see the weather. Either way, I'll be in that pool. Best believe it. Can't wait.
The hot tub. We're the hot tub.
Both, Unless Patrick's there, then I'll fucking just put a hoodie on and just not go in the pool because I feel fucking like I hate myself looking at Patrick. Shredded. But no. What are you gonna say, Phil?
I said we can't all be Patrick, but don't.
Yeah, we're good.
Don't stop that from coming down and hanging out.
I'm still going down the slide. All right, listen, boys, I appreciate you guys, of course. Red Mountain Herps on IG. Stay updated. And, of course, Phoenix Reptiles. Go subscribe. Instagram. Best chondro knowledge you can get coming into this game. So give it up. It's a wrap for Bill Siegel, Marshall Mendes, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Later, guys.
Tuesday, 2 hours went by fast.
They really did, man. It's always a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
See you all next time.
Right.
Thank you so much. Anyone out there, before you take off and enjoy the rest of your evening, please get the likes up. Let's get the likes up for this episode. Sal from the UK doing big things, and I appreciate anyone who tapped in from the UK on tonight's episode, even though all you guys are probably asleep right now. But you'll catch this. So drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you liked best. What are you learning out of these Tuesday nights, man? Give me some feedback. And also, guys, if you are looking for exclusive content, you want to get more out of what you see at each episode, get more behind the scenes, and come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. You can join the Trap Talk Patreon family by clicking the very first link in the description below. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you get connected to a Discord, and you get connected to an awesome Instagram group chat. Okay, man? So appreciate all the love and support tonight. Before we let you guys go, you know the deal. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Diversity when it comes to a reptile diet, I feel like is so important. So this is why I'm proud to announce today's sponsor, Blake Exotic Feeders over in Florida.
What is up, everybody? Blake here, the owner of Blake's Exotic Feeders. We have all quail available at all times, produced here at my ranch from button day old, from Coturnic day old, all the way to extra large Coturnic quail. If you guys have any questions, DM on Instagram. Appreciate the support, you guys. Make sure you guys hit me up. We have all the quail like I mentioned, and everything is shipped right here from my house.
If you want the #1 quail sent to your doorstep, and more importantly, fed to your reptile, no better company than to go to than Blake Exotic Feeders. #1 quality in quail, hands down. And I gotta tell you, my reptiles love it just as much. It'll give you a peace of mind to know that these quail are grown on his property and it's not bought third party. Head over to his website, Blake Exotic Animal Ranch, to place your order, or you could just hit him up directly on Instagram. Let him know that the Trap sent you and he'll take extra good care of you. Thank you so much, Blake, for supporting the Trap, and also thank you so much for sending me top quality homegrown quail for my animals. One of the things I love about being a part of the reptile industry is all the learning, okay? Learning can be fun, and I can prove that to you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor, it's Gary Scavino over at GS Reptiles. I highly recommend you head over to his YouTube channel, follow all this man's content when it comes to learning about rare species of snakes you could be keeping in the hobby, and also just finding out how easy a lot of these rare species of snakes are to keep in general. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. Again, head over to his YouTube channel. Also head over to his Instagram to be on top of all of his current work and be ready for a big year over at GS Reptiles. Thank you so much, Gary, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Green tree pythons, emerald tree boas, and plenty other arboreal snakes have been quite the popularity here at the Trap Talk Reptile Network, which brings me to today's sponsor, the Reptile Perch. Head over to the reptileperch.com and Reptile Perch on Instagram. See what type of design PVC perch is best for your arboreal reptile. But first and foremost, I would also check out David Brom's Green Tree Python availability on the website. And you can also check out his Instagram just to stay current on any projects or any productions that he posts. Thank you so much, David Broms, for your ongoing support. Looking forward to seeing what you have to show in the 2025 season. Shout out to today's sponsor, and that is the COCO Dude, #1 chipper substrate in the game. Everything you see behind me, all my emerald tree boas, my green tree pythons, are all over that beautiful COCO chip over at COCODO.com. Go to COCODO.com, place your order. I prefer the COCO to go. It's already broken down, less dust, the chunks are perfect. But yes, I like the COCO to go. No matter what your total is in your cart, if you put in TRAPFAM25 in the promo code, you are now going to get 25% off your entire order. Thank you so much, the COCO Dude, for doing that for all my trappers. Again, #1 substrate in the game. Less duck sheds, less dust. It's the best place to be, and that's the COCO Dude. Again, COCODO.com. Put in promo code TRAPFAM25 and get yourself 25% off the entire order. Thank you so much, COCO Dude.